Hello and welcome to another segment of DSU Inside Perspective. I'm Carlos Holmes, and this is the show where we talk with faculty, staff, students, alumni, and guests about some of the great things that are going on in the world, or some of the not so great things that are going on in the world, as well as the great things that are going on at the Delaware State University. Today we've brought back one of our own from Delaware State University, Renee Smith. How are you doing, S.
I am excellent, Carlos.
S. Renee is an alumnus. What year did you graduate from Del State?
1988.
1988. She has gone on to become a motivational speaker and author. She's written books such as There Is More Inside, The Bridge to Your Brand, and a spiritual development book called Our Heart's Wonder. And now she is the co-author of the renowned series of For Dummies books. And she has joined another author to write the book Self Esteem for Dummies. How did this come about? This is a pretty renowned brand here. I mean, they've got like 1,800 titles out there, 250 million books. How did you get this opportunity? Interesting enough,
I was asked to join a platform that includes 6 national speakers, one being the Chicken Soup for the Soul originator, Jack Canfield. And the phone call came by way of Steve Harrison, who is a renowned PR guru, who is the mindchild behind Chicken Soup for the Soul, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He called and he said, I'm working on a project. I'm picking 6 people. I thought of you, and let's have a conversation. We talked, signed a contract. And by signing that contract with him, it put me in front of 80,000 people. And as a result, the co-author saw me speaking, did some research, and said, would you be interested?
And that would be Vivian Hart.
Vivian Hart, okay. Yes.
I got to ask you this, though. Has it ever occurred to you the oxymoron nature of self-esteem for dummies?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something that's interesting. As a result of being on the platform with Jack Canfield, I do coaching for Steve Harrison's clients at Jack Canfield's house in Santa Barbara, California. So there's something called the hot seat. And I also have a business, and they give me about 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the session to get on the hot seat to talk about what projects I'm working on. And when I said self-esteem for dummies, Jack Canfield said, you know what? If I did this book, I would scratch out dummies with red lipstick and say self-esteem for smart people. And I agree 100%, especially because of the way that it's written.
But I think the whole series is based on no question is a stupid question.
Absolutely.
So, and all the topics that they cover, you know, business for dummies, you know, photography for dummies, you know, cancer for dummies. They cover all areas of it. So
absolutely.
Now, in your book, what do you cover in what you're writing?
Interesting enough, because of scheduling, I could, instead of writing together like some co-authors, right, we wrote separately. She wrote chapters 1 through 10. I wrote chapters 11 through 22, I think, and she wrote chapter 23. Let me confirm that really quick since the book is sitting in my hand. Right, I wrote through 22, 11 through 22.
And what are some of the topics you deal with there?
Interesting enough, I deal with increasing your confidence through self-awareness, becoming more aware of your behaviors, of what you're thinking, of what you're doing. I write about moving beyond fear and walking in faith. Because I'm a person of great faith and I believe in that, and I was thankful that I was able to talk a little bit about faith and the importance of faith in the self-esteem process. Creating and reaching goals, I talk about examining your role in conflict, because a lot of times we can look at somebody else and we point the finger, especially in low self-esteem. We don't want to look at ourselves. So I teach people how to look at yourself gently and be able to move yourself out of criticizing yourself or second-guessing yourself and really analyzing your behavior and improving it. Of course, I have to talk about love. Rewriting your love story, pinpointing where you are in terms of your relationships, and also getting beyond loving love, falling in love with love, that adrenaline that makes you feel a particular way, and really getting solid in your thinking in terms of love. Improving personal relationships, so relationships with family members. There's conflict in families. How do you help family members that are having a very difficult time and not lose yourself? And at what point do you let the person go and know that it's their soul's journey and that you have to back up and let them do what they have to do? And then creating, and this is the fun part for me, creating an image for professional success. My area of expertise is not just self-esteem, but it's also branding. So I teach people really how to build a brand and why building a brand is so significant to your self-esteem. I also talk about managing relationships at work, a little sticky. When you look at the fact that nearly 50% of people are bullied in the workplace and or people who have witnessed being bullied, I dealing with that difficult boss, dealing with that difficult coworker, also leadership, and presenting with confidence. How do you stand in front of a group of people, strangers, and know that you should be acceptable, accepted, and likable? So I deal with presenting with confidence as well, and then helping children achieve confidence if you are a family member. And it's not just parents, it's also for those who work in organizations that work with kids or mentor kids.
Do you find that people too readily accept their low self-esteem as something that they can't change, that they're just resigned that this is who I am? And
I think what happens with most people is that they don't realize it's low self-esteem. I think it manifests itself in, I'm not going to take a chance. It manifests itself in the form of fear, but at the core, it's low self-esteem. It manifests itself in doubt, but it's low self-esteem. It's really low self-esteem really is trusting yourself with yourself. And because many people haven't had enough successes to know that they can trust their decision making, they can trust how they show up in the world, because people treat them in a way that makes them feel alienated, not a part of. It manifests itself into other things, but at the core, it's really how you show up in the world is really how people treat you.
I find it interesting that you, in your section on the workplace, you not only focus on the individual and their approach to their own self-esteem, but the boss and how they can impact, how the leaders can impact the self-esteem of others. And I haven't seen a lot written on that.
Absolutely. A lot of times people attempt to separate self-esteem. How I'm treated by my husband, by my wife, how I'm treated by the boss, how I'm treated by the coworkers, as not impacting someone's self-esteem, when it absolutely not only impacts it, it dictates how they show up in the workplace. So if you want to decrease healthcare costs, if you want to decrease the number of times people are out, if you want to increase productivity, if you want to increase your income, people have to feel good about themselves. They have to believe that when they open their mouth, when they're sitting at the table, that they're going to be heard, that they're going to be listened to, that they're going to be respected. And so oftentimes we separate self-esteem. It's you just come, you do your job. Well, guess what? The person that's doing the job is the most expensive product or products, because people are products. I talk about that in the branding section, that they are your greatest commodity and most expensive commodity. And if you treat them like they're nothing, they'll show up like they're nothing, which means that all that intellectual property, all that innovation, and that value proposition does not come to the table, and the employer actually loses in the end.
You know, I've known you for a while, and I know your own personal faith is important. How has your personal faith impacted your work to help other people?
Well, it's interesting. I'm a meditator, and so as a result, when I'm doing private coaching, my intention is to bring up what's in the best interest of the person, and for me not to project my preconceived notions onto the person, have no judgment, but just accept them as they are, number one. I think that's very important in the coaching process. Number two is that whatever is meant to show up, it shows up in their best interest, not mine. I'm not trying to hold on to them as a client. I'm trying to get them to step up and into their passion, and so are into their purpose, and that takes the whole self-esteem piece. So for me, okay, I'll wrap.
She wasn't supposed to say that, but that's okay.
That's okay. You know me, transparency. That's another piece. So my spirituality plays a major role. It's who I am and what I stand in and for.
Well, we are at about the end, but I want to make sure I get this in.
Yeah.
How do people get this book? Will this be on the national bookshelves across the country?
Anywhere. And when they go into their bookstores, Barnes & Nobles, it's going to launch January 27th. And so after that, they can get it anywhere on the internet. You just Google S. Renee Self-Esteem for Dummies or Self-Esteem for Dummies, and bam, it's right there.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. I mean, anywhere. You can go on my website. I mean, it's a book that has a national release, and it's backed by a global company. This is a worldwide release, so I'm excited about that.
Well, S. Renee, I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to come on the
Yeah.
show and share with us
Yeah.
this book, Dummy for Self-Esteem. Get the book. It will be a help to you.
Self-esteem for dummies. Self-esteem for dummies.
Self-esteem for dummies. Self-esteem for dummies.
Self-esteem for dummies.
Thank you for being on the show, Renee.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for another segment of DSU Inside Perspective. Everyone have a good day. And we just look at each other.